The vast darkness of space surrounded the Varaxian scout ship as it drifted at the edge of the Milky Way galaxy. Commander Zirax stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes narrowed at the holographic display before him. The ship's sensors had detected something unusual, a cluster of small objects floating in the emptiness between star systems. "What are they?" Zirax asked, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the display. Senior Officer Krell approached, his datapad in hand. "Unknown, Commander. They appear to be artificial in nature, not natural space debris." Zirax nodded. "Bring us closer." Carefully. The ship moved toward the objects with caution. As they drew nearer, the objects became clearer on their screens, smooth, metallic beacons about the size of a small shuttle, each pulsing with a faint blue light. "They're active," said Krell, surprise evident in his voice. "Energy readings suggest they've been operational for. This can't be right." He checked his readings again. "Commander, these devices appear to be approximately 40,000 years old." Zirax's head snapped up. "Impossible. No power source lasts that long." "These do," Krell insisted. "And there's more. They're emitting a signal. Encrypted." The commander paced the bridge. "Bring one aboard. Maximum containment protocols." Hours later, the science team gathered around the beacon in the ship's secure lab. The object hummed softly, its surface covered in unfamiliar symbols. Chief Synorchaeologist Krell led the examination, his slender fingers moving carefully over the strange device. "The material is unlike anything in our database," he explained, "self-repairing at the molecular level. And the power source." He gestured to internal scans displayed on the lab screen. "It's drawing energy from quantum fluctuations in space itself." Analyst Vela stepped forward, her eyes wide with excitement. "We've partially decoded the signal, Commander. It contains data packets, massive amounts of information, and it's written in an ancient language we've only seen in historical archives." "Which language?" Zirax asked. "Human," Vela said quietly. The room fell silent. Every Varaxian knew of humans only through legends and incomplete historical records. A species that had vanished long before the current Varaxian civilization had achieved space travel. "Earth was destroyed during our ancestors' first expansion," Zirax said, recalling his historical training. "Before our modern historical period." Krell nodded. "Approximately 40,000 years ago," which matches the age of these beacons. Vela continued working at her console. The beacons appear to have been designed to self-replicate using space debris. They've been spreading throughout the galaxy for millennia. "What's in the data packets?" Zirax asked. "Everything," Vela replied with awe. "Art, science, literature, history, the entire cultural and technological heritage of humanity. But there's something else. A message. It's taking longer to decrypt because it's locked behind multiple security protocols." Zirax frowned. Why would a dying species send their knowledge into space? And why protect part of it? Engineer Lox joined them, his younger face serious. "Perhaps as a warning, Commander. Many ancient species left markers before their extinction." Days passed as the team worked to decrypt the message. The High Council of the Varaxian Empire demanded daily reports, growing increasingly concerned about the mysterious human artifacts. Finally, Vela called the team together, her expression grave. "We've decrypted the first part of the message," she announced. The room's display lit up with alien symbols that transformed into Varaxian text. Zirax read aloud. "If you are reading this, we are gone. But our legacy remains. And to those who would follow our path, we have one message." The text ended abruptly. "That's all?" Zirax demanded. Vela shook her head. "There's more, but it requires a different decryption key. We're working on it." Krell studied the message thoughtfully. They knew they were going to be destroyed. They prepared this. "But why?" asked Lox. "What message is so important that it needed to survive 40,000 years?" As if in answer, the ship's alarms blared. The tactical officer's voice came through the communication system, tense and urgent. "Commander, long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Unlike anything we've ever seen." Xerax looked at the human beacon, suddenly understanding its purpose. "I think," he said slowly, "we're about to find out." Captain Henry Pierce watched Earth grow smaller through the viewport of the starship Endurance. The blue planet, once teeming with life, now bore ugly red scars where the alien weapons had struck. Smoke clouds covered entire continents. The last evacuation ships streaked away from the surface, carrying the final survivors. "Captain, all remaining evacuation ships are docked." "We're at full capacity," said Lieutenant Sam Garcia from his station. Henry nodded, his face grim. "How many?" "Just under 10,000 civilians, sir, plus 500 military personnel." 10,000 out of billions. Henry closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of all they had lost. "Captain, Dr. Collins is requesting your presence in the science lab," Sam added. Henry found Dr. Mia Collins surrounded by holographic displays and frantic scientists. Despite working for 3 days straight, her eyes burned with intense focus. She looked up as he entered. "Henry, we've finished the core programming for the beacons," she said, gesturing to a row of metallic objects on the lab tables. Each was about the size of a small car, with smooth surfaces that reflected the lab's lights. "Will they work?" Henry asked. Mia nodded. "The quantum cores are stable. Once launched, they'll be able to replicate using space debris and spread throughout the galaxy." She pulled up a new display. "We've loaded everything. Our history, science, art, culture, everything that makes us human." Henry studied the beacons. "And the warning." "That too," Maya said quietly, "along with all our data on the invaders. Everything we learned before it was too late." A violent shake rocked the ship. Warning alarms blared. Captain Pierce to the bridge. The voice called over the communication system. "Get those beacons ready for launch," Henry ordered as he ran from the lab. The bridge was chaos when Henry arrived. The main screen showed dozens of alien ships approaching from the direction of Mars. "Mars outpost has fallen, sir," reported Communications Officer Diane Wells. "No survivors." "How long until those ships reach us?" Henry asked. 20 minutes at most," said Sam. Henry activated the ship-wide communication system. "All personnel, this is Captain Pierce. Prepare for emergency jump. Science team, launch sequence for Project Legacy begins now." In the lab, Mia and her team worked frantically to load the beacons into launch tubes. Engineer Adam Wright ran final diagnostics on each one. "Quantum cores stable," he reported. "Self-replication protocols active. They'll spread far and wide, just as we planned." Mia placed her hand on the smooth surface of the last beacon. "Will it be enough? Will anyone find them in time?" Adam had no answer for her. On the bridge, Henry monitored the approaching alien fleet. They moved like a swarm of insects, their ships black against the stars. "Engine room reports jump drives at 70%. Sam said, "We need 85% for a safe jump." Henry watched the aliens draw closer. "We won't make it." He opened the communication channel to the science lab. "Dr. Collins, status on the beacons." "Ready for launch, Captain," came Mia's voice. "Launch now," Henry ordered. "All of them." Through the viewport, Henry watched as dozens of small objects shot away from the Endurance, scattering in all directions. The beacons accelerated rapidly, their tiny engines pushing them beyond the reach of the alien ships. "Beacons away," Maya reported. Trajectories green across the board. The alien fleet changed course, some ships pursuing the beacons, but there were too many beacons, moving too quickly in too many directions. Most would escape. A massive blast rocked the Endurance. Fire alarms blared throughout the ship. "Hull breach on decks 5 through 8, Sam reported, his voice steady despite everything. "Jump drive damage. We're not going anywhere, sir." Henry watched as the alien fleet surrounded them. On the edge of the solar system, the last beacons winked out of visual range, carrying humanity's final message to the stars. "They got away," Henry said. "That's all that matters now." As the alien weapons powered up for the final attack, Mia Collins stepped onto the bridge. She took Henry's hand in hers as they faced the view screen together. "Do you think anyone will hear us?" she asked softly. "Someone will," Henry said. 40,000 years from now, someone will hear us." The bridge filled with blinding light. Commander Zirax stood before the Varaxian High Command, 6 stern faces staring down at him from their elevated seats. The grand hall of the command ship echoed with his words as he finished his report about the human beacons. "That is all we have discovered so far, High Commanders," Zirax said, bowing his head slightly. High Commander Drav leaned forward, his old face creased with concern. "These beacons are 40,000 years old, you say? From a dead species?" "Yes, High Commander. The humans of Earth." Another commander, Nex, spoke sharply. "Earth was destroyed during our early expansion era. They were barely space-capable. How could they create technology that still functions after 40,000 years?" Zirax had asked himself the same question. "We don't know, Commander. That's why we must continue studying the beacons." "And this partial message," said Drav. "It feels like a warning. What could humans possibly warn us about?" Before Zirax could answer, the doors to the hall opened. Analyst Vela rushed in, breaking all protocol. Guards moved to stop her, but Zirax waved them away. "Forgive the interruption," Vela said, breathing hard. "We've decoded more of the human data. You need to see this now." Back in the research lab, the science team gathered around a large display. Krell typed commands into the console, and images appeared on the screen. "We've accessed their historical and cultural archives," Krell explained. "The humans were more advanced than our historical records suggested. They had already colonized their solar system when they were attacked." The screen showed images of human cities, their art, their technology. Zirax was surprised by how similar some of it was to Varaxian designs. "They were creative," Vela said. "Their science was developing rapidly. And they were brave." She pulled up footage of humans fighting against shadowy shades. The video was damaged, breaking up into static every few seconds. "Who were they fighting?" Zirax asked. "We don't know yet," Krell said. "The humans called them the Harvesters, but there's little clear footage. Whatever attacked them was able to damage even their most protected records." Engineer Lox joined them, holding a datapad. "I found something interesting. A name that keeps appearing in the final data packets. Someone called Adam Wright. He was connected to something called the Promethean Protocol." "What is that?" Zirax asked. "Unknown," Lox admitted, "but it was important. The humans put extra protection around those files." Military advisor Fox, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "This smells of a trap. A weapon left behind by a dead species to avenge themselves. I recommend we destroy these beacons immediately." Zirax shook his head. "The humans couldn't have known our species would find their message. They couldn't have planned revenge against us specifically." "Then who were they warning?" Fox demanded. The room fell silent as Vela activated another screen. "We've decrypted more of the message. Listen." A synthetic voice filled the room, translating the ancient human words into Varaxian language. "We were not the first to fall to them. We will not be the last. They are coming." Krell looked troubled. "Coming where? Coming for whom?" Before anyone could answer, an alarm sounded. A young officer rushed into the lab. "Commander, long-range sensors have detected massive objects approaching from beyond the galactic rim. They're unlike anything in our records." Zirax turned to the screen showing the human message. "How much more is there to decode?" "Much more," Vela said. "Whatever the humans were trying to tell us, they left detailed information. But it will take time to access it all." "Time we may not have," Zirax said. He turned to his team. Work faster. I need to know what destroyed the humans. And I need to know if it's the same thing that's coming toward us now. Fox looked skeptical. You believe a 40,000-year-old warning from an extinct species? Xerax looked at the approaching signals on the sensor display. They moved with purpose, with intelligence, with hunger. Yes, he said simply. I do. Adam Wright stared out the window of the underground lab. The night sky above was filled with flashes of light as Earth's defense forces battled the invaders in orbit. Each flash meant another ship destroyed, often one of their own. They were losing badly. Adam, I need you to focus, said Dr. Lisa Martinez from across the lab. She was reviewing data on a large screen, dark circles under her eyes from days without proper sleep. Adam turned away from the window. Sorry, it's just... He waved toward the sky. Lisa nodded. She understood. Everyone did these days. The lab door opened, and General Frank Kelly entered. His uniform was wrinkled, his face grim. Tell me you have something, he said without greeting. Adam gestured to the glowing blue core in the center of the lab. It hummed softly, suspended in a magnetic field. We've stabilized the quantum core. The theory is sound. Theory won't save Earth, the general said. No, Adam agreed. But this might save others. Lisa pulled up new images on the screen. We've analyzed the data from the deep space probes. These entities, they're not just attacking Earth. They'd been consuming civilizations across multiple galaxies for millions of years. The screen showed strange, shadowy forms moving between stars. They were massive, larger than planets, yet somehow hard to see clearly, as if they existed partly in another dimension. They feed on intelligence, Lisa explained. Advanced civilizations create unique energy patterns through their technology, their thought processes. These entities harvest that energy. The general frowned. If they'd been doing this for millions of years, why haven't other species stopped them? Because they don't exist entirely in our spacetime, Adam said. They appear, they feed, they vanish for thousands of years. No single civilization lives long enough to study them across multiple appearances. Lisa nodded. We found evidence they visited our galaxy before. Ancient civilizations called them gods, demons, world eaters. They recorded their appearances but lacked the science to understand them. Adam walked to the quantum core. But we understand enough. They exist partially in higher dimensions, which is why our weapons barely affect them. But their feeding process makes them vulnerable. When they consume a civilization, they must fully manifest in our reality. And that's when we can hurt them, the general said, following Adam's thinking. Yes, but not with conventional weapons. Adam gestured to the core. This is what we call the Promethean Protocol. A quantum algorithm that can detect these entities across space-time and potentially disrupt them during feeding. Potentially. The general raised an eyebrow. It's never been tested, Adam admitted. It can't be. It requires massive energy. Energy we don't have. But time might solve that problem, Lisa added. If we encode this algorithm into self-replicating beacons spreading throughout the galaxy. The energy builds up over thousands of years. Adam finished. Like a timer set to go off when the entities return. The lab shook as something exploded on the surface above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. They're getting closer, the general said. How long to implement this protocol? We've already started, Lisa said. The evacuation ships are carrying beacons, but we need a stronger signal, a core beacon to coordinate the others. Adam looked at the quantum core. I can boost the signal strength, but it would require direct neural interface. Someone would need to link their consciousness to the core. Lisa finished quietly. It would be fatal. The general looked between them. Is there any other way? Adam shook his head. No. And there's no time to find one. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights flickered. I'll do it, Adam said simply. Lisa started to protest, but Adam stopped her. My consciousness in the system will guide future civilizations. It's our only chance to warn them in time. The general nodded solemnly. How long will you need? 1 hour, Adam said, looking at the quantum core with determination. 1 hour to save whoever comes after us. Alarms blared throughout the Voraxian command ship. Commander Xerax rushed to the bridge, where officers moved with urgent purpose between stations. The main view screen showed a star system at the edge of Voraxian space, or what remained of it. The sun was dimming, its light being drained away by massive shadow-like entities that surrounded it. Status report, Xerax demanded. Officer Sam lowered his display. The Krell colony has gone silent, Commander. All communication cut off 6 hours ago. Long-range sensors show the entire system is being consumed. Xerax watched the screen in horror. The Krell colony had been home to over 5 million Voraxians. Any survivors? None detected, Sam replied quietly. The door to the bridge slid open, and Analyst Vela entered with Chief Synorchaeologist Krell. Their faces showed a mix of fear and excitement. Commander, we've decoded the full human message, Vela announced. You need to hear this now. Xerax nodded. Play it. The synthetic voice filled the bridge, translating ancient human words. Run. They feed on intelligence. The brighter your civilization shines, the more you attract them. We fought. We failed. But we left you weapons. Find Adam right. Implement the Promethean protocol. Silence fell across the bridge as the message ended. There's more, Krell said. Technical data, blueprints, quantum equations. The humans left instructions. For what? Xerax asked. For fighting back, Vela replied. Before Xerax could respond, a communication alert sounded. The face of High Commander Drav appeared on screen. Commander Xerax, you are ordered to destroy those human artifacts immediately, Drav said firmly. Our analysts believe they are attracting these entities to our space. Xerax frowned. With respect, High Commander, I believe the opposite is true. The beacons may be our only defense. This is not a debate, Drav snapped. The High Council has voted. These entities have already consumed 2 colony worlds. We are preparing for immediate evacuation of all outer systems. The human artifacts will be destroyed. The screen went dark as Drav cut the connection. Xerax turned to his officers. What just happened? Politics, Military Advisor Thox said with disgust. Half the council wants to run. The other half wants to fight. Neither side trusts human technology. We can't run from these things, Vela insisted. Did you see the data? They can cross galaxies. They'll follow us anywhere. Krell stepped forward. Commander, I've been studying the human scientist Adam Wright's work. His Promethean protocol may actually work. It's a quantum-level weapon designed specifically for these entities. But we would need to decode and implement all of it, Vela added. And quickly. Xerax made his decision. We're not destroying the beacons. He looked around at his crew. But we'll have to work against the Council's orders. Anyone who disagrees should leave now. No one moved. Good, Xerax said. Vela, take a team and continue decoding the human data. Krell, start implementing whatever parts of this protocol you can understand. Everyone else, prepare for possible Council enforcement ships. Commander, Sam called from his station. 3 more colony worlds just went dark. The entities are moving faster. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Millions more lives lost in an instant. The human message was clear, Xerax said quietly. They knew these things would return. They tried to warn us. Why would they care? Thox asked. We destroyed their world. Krell looked thoughtful. Perhaps because they understood something we don't yet. That against these entities, all intelligent life needs to stand together. Vela's console beeped. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the human beacons. They're activating somehow, responding to the presence of the entities. After 40,000 years, Xerax murmured. The humans prepared for this exact moment. But will it be enough? Krell wondered aloud. Xerax watched the view screen as another star began to dim. It has to be, or we'll be joining the humans in extinction very soon. Krell worked frantically at his lab station. The human beacon sat in the center of the room, glowing brighter than before. Its surface had changed, revealing new patterns and symbols as the entities drew closer to Voraxian space. It's responding to them, Krell said to Vela, who worked at a console nearby. The beacon knows they're here. How can an object know anything? Vela asked, though her voice held more wonder than doubt. I don't think it's just an object anymore, Krell replied. He pointed to his readings. These energy patterns, they're too complex, too adaptive. It's almost like. Like what? Like a neural pattern, Krell said quietly. Like a brain. The lab door opened and Commander Xerax entered. His uniform was disheveled, his eyes tired from days without rest. 5 more colony worlds had gone dark in the past week. The Voraxian Empire was in chaos. Please tell me you have something, Xerax said. Krell nodded. Maybe. I think the beacons contain more than just data. I think they might contain consciousness. Xerax stared at him. Explain. The quantum core of this beacon, Krell said, pointing to the glowing center of the device. It's not just storing information. It's storing patterns that match neural activities. Human neural activities. Are you saying there are human minds in these devices? Xerax asked. Not complete minds, Vela clarified. But patterns. Echoes. And one pattern is stronger than the others. She pulled up a display. This one. It matches the neural signature attributed to Adam Wright in the human data. Xerax looked at the beacon with new eyes. Can we communicate with it? I think we already are, Krell said. He gestured to the screens around the lab, where data was flowing faster than before. The beacon is responding to our research. It's giving us more information as we understand more. It's guiding us, Vela realized. Xerax approached the beacon cautiously. Adam Wright, can you hear us? The beacon pulsed once, then twice. The screens in the lab changed, showing a new set of equations and diagrams. It responded, Krell said in awe. It's showing us how to access the core consciousness. For hours, the team worked to follow the beacon's instructions. They connected their ship's quantum systems to the beacon, created new interfaces, and adjusted frequencies according to the patterns provided. Finally, a holographic projection appeared above the beacon. It was blurry, unstable, but recognizably shaped like a human. The figure flickered, its edges never quite solid. Hello, the figure said, its voice distorted. I am. Partial recovery. Adam Wright consciousness pattern. Xerax stepped forward. I am Commander Xerax of the Voraxian fleet. Your warning has reached us, but perhaps too late. The entities you warned about are consuming our worlds. The right figure nodded. Expected. Pattern. Consistent with historical data. They return in cycles of approximately 40,000 years. How do we fight them? Vela asked. Cannot fight. Conventionally, the figure flickered. Promethean protocol. Not just weapon. Trap. Has been gathering energy. 40,000 years. Network of beacons. Across galaxy. Linked through quantum entanglement. What does it do? Krell asked. Forces entities into single dimension of reality. Makes them vulnerable. But requires activation at key points throughout galaxy. Xerax understood. We need to spread out. Activate the protocol in multiple locations at once. The right figure nodded. Yes. Must synchronize. All beacons, all locations, same moment. Only chance. A loud alarm blared through the ship. Officer Sam's voice came through the communication system. Commander, High Council enforcement ships approaching. They've discovered we didn't destroy the beacons, and the entities have reached the Voraxian home system. Xerax looked at the flickering human figure. We're out of time. What do we do? The right figure seemed to become more solid, more focused. Do what we couldn't. Fight back. Save your people. Save all who come after. How? Krell asked desperately. Complete the merger, Wright said. Join your consciousness with mine. Become the final key to the protocol. Xerax realized what he was asking. The same sacrifice Adam Wright had made 40,000 years ago. I'll do it, Krell said suddenly. For our people. For the galaxy. The right figure nodded. Prepare. The final phase begins. The Varaxian homeworld hung in space, its blue oceans and green continents visible from the command ship's viewport. But surrounding the planet were dark, shifting shapes, the entities. They stretched around the planet like massive shadows, their forms blurring between dimensions as they began to feed on the consciousness of billions of Varaxians. Commander Xerax watched with horror as the planet's lights dimmed. His home, his people, being consumed before his eyes. All ships report ready, Commander, said Officer Sam. They've each taken a beacon to the designated coordinates. Despite the High Council's orders, many Varaxian ships had joined Xerax's cause once they understood the truth. 20 ships had scattered across the galaxy, each carrying one of the human beacons to specific locations. In the lab, Krell sat in a special chair connected to the main beacon. Wires and tubes linked his body to the device. The holographic image of Adam Wright stood before him, flickering but steady. The procedure cannot be reversed, Wright warned. Your consciousness will merge with the quantum network. Krell nodded. I understand. It's worth the cost. Vela touched Krell's arm. There must be another way. There isn't, Krell said gently. This is what Wright did 40,000 years ago. His sacrifice gave us this chance. I must do the same. Xerax entered the lab. The entities have surrounded our homeworld. We're out of time. Wright's hologram nodded. Begin the sequence. Vela activated the controls. Energy surged through the system, flowing into Krell. He gasped, his body arching in the chair. The beacon began to pulse, its light growing brighter. Network connecting, Vela reported, watching her display. All beacons responding. Across the galaxy, in 20 different locations, Varaxian ships held position as their beacons activated in unison. Light pulsed between them, creating a web of energy that spread throughout the stars. On the homeworld, billions of Varaxians looked up as the sky began to glow with strange patterns of light. The entities feeding on their world paused, sensing something changing. In the lab, Krell's eyes glowed with the same light as the beacon. His voice changed, becoming a blend of his own and Wright's. 40,000 years of energy, gathered from quantum fluctuations across the galaxy. All for this moment. The ship shuddered as waves of energy passed through it. On the displays, they could see the entities reacting, pulling back from the planet. It's working, Xerax whispered. Not yet, said Krell/Wright. They sensed the trap. They'll try to escape. On the screen, the entities began to move away from the homeworld, stretching toward the darkness between stars. But the web of energy from the beacons followed them, surrounding them. Now, Krell/Wright commanded. His body glowed brighter, and he screamed in pain. All across the galaxy, the human beacons pulsed with blinding light. The quantum web contracted, forcing the entities into a single dimension of reality. Their shadowy forms became solid, vulnerable. Fire, Xerax ordered. Every Varaxian ship and planetary defense system fired at once. Weapons that had previously passed through the entities now struck solid matter. The entities writhed in what could only be pain. In the lab, Krell's body began to fade, becoming transparent like Wright's hologram. It's done, he said, his voice peaceful despite the pain. They can't hide anymore. They can't shift between dimensions. They're trapped in our reality. And they can be killed, Xerax realized. Yes, Krell/Wright said. The cycle ends today. The entities tried to flee, but the quantum web held them. Varaxian weapons tore into their now solid forms. One by one, They began to break apart, their ancient bodies unable to withstand the concentrated attack now that they were fully in normal space. As the last entity dissolved into nothing, Krell's physical form vanished completely. But his voice remained, merged now with rights in the quantum network. "We did it," the voice said. "What humanity couldn't do alone, we've done together." Villa touched the beacon gently. "Are you still there, Krell?" "Yes," came the reply. "Part of me, part of right, part of something new. We will watch, we will wait. If the entities ever return, we will be ready." Xerax looked out at his homeworld, still intact, still alive. "Thank you," he said simply. "Both of you." Across the stars, the human beacons continued to pulse gently, now carrying not just the legacy of Earth, but of two civilizations united across 40,000 years.